everyone, so today I'm going to be sharing a speed paint that I did a couple of weeks ago of Herron, and I'm going to talk a bit about him as we go along. So basically, I decided to do something kind of different for this painting. This was more of a digital realism study, and I love realism. I think realism is one of the best parts of art, and I highly recommend practicing it, especially if you have never done it before. Like, even if you're amazing at art like right now and you never tried out realism, I highly recommend it. I think it's super helpful. I think it really improves people's art. So this is of my sister's character, Herron. So basically this is from her first novel, Happiness to Wonder. Yeah, he's super interesting. I really like him, and I liked him a lot in the original book, even though we both kind of don't like that book, kind of roasting Sarah right now. I mean, the book is not too bad. She hates it more than I do. But obviously it's kind of like the first book. I think she wrote it when she was like 14, 13, I think. Something around there. But Herron always had like Howl from Howl's Moving Castle vibes, so therefore he was always my favorite. He has like a super posh air to him, and he's always put together, and he dresses really well, and his hair always looks like on point. So recently we decided to kind of start replanning this book just for fun, because like Herron is they, and like we wanted to like kind of replan the characters, because we kind of agreed that all the characters suck and are annoying. So we wanted to create a new book that was a little more interesting, and not necessarily like rewriting this book, but just kind of replanning it for fun. We have planned it out to be a little bit more, this is kind of tentative, about Herron. So the main character is actually Arliss, and I would draw Arliss at some point because I think she has a cool design as well. Me and Sarah don't really like Arliss. Sarah despises Arliss. So we didn't really want her to be the main character anymore, and anyway, she didn't really contribute much to the story, like from what I can remember of the story. It's been years. She didn't really, add to her own storyline. It was like, it wasn't even her story, but she was kind of telling it, and it was just like a whole bunch of events that didn't really connect. Oops, sorry Sarah, I'm roasting you. We did that, and we also are gonna probably age up the characters. I think they're like 19-ish, 18, 19 in the original one. They'll probably be in their 20s in the new planning of this. So it's kind of more, instead, the original plot was about kind of a group of people in this like almost fantasy environment, sort of magical realism-ish, where they kind of not worship a mirror, but like their whole belief system kind of is like based on mirrors. I can barely remember the book, so that's kind of what it was about. Like the mirror was like an entity. I don't know. It was just a whole bunch of stuff revolving a mirror. We kind of scrapped all the mirror stuff, and we decided to make it about this group of con artists. It's set in London, who are making fake magic in their flat to sell to people to like cure the plague that's currently going on. So that's sort of what we have. I don't know why he has a rosary, to be honest. We were thinking that Herron's kind of playing God, because he's trying, we don't really know anything about him, to be honest. He just wants to like cure these people or something. That's just the basic premise. I was so excited. I was like, I'm gonna paint this boy. So I immediately just started painting it. It took me like 9 to 12 hours, I would say, to complete this painting, because some of it wasn't recorded. It's the longest time I've ever taken on a digital piece, because I find it kind of hard to commit to digital pieces. I worked maybe 30 or 40 hours on a painting that I did of Frida Kahlo as Harry Potter for school assignment, and I found it much easier to commit to that. It was like an acrylic painting. For some reason, it's harder for me to commit to a digital painting, because it's like very computer oriented, and not that digital is less satisfying. I think it's super satisfying, but just for me, this is a personal thing, not to speak on behalf of other digital artists or to speak on behalf of digital art, because I still think it's just as valuable as traditional. I was like, this is my plan. I want to go on an endeavor to feel proud of something and to get that same feeling I get from finishing traditional art with this digital piece. So I am a primarily digital artist, as you guys have obviously seen. It was very important to me that I could kind of connect a little bit more with my digital art. So I decided to spend a really long time on this. I spent lots of time just refining on tiny details you won't see unless you zoom up. His eye is probably my favorite part, as well as the rosary, which I will zoom up on at the end of this video. As I mentioned in my last video, I draw primarily front-facing portraits. I've been doing art for 2 years, which is a bit of time, but obviously it's not too much. I've only been doing digital for less than a year, I think. It's always been the easiest for me to do a front-facing portrait. I've been wanting to branch from this for a really long time. So I looked at this reference I found on Pinterest. I'll pop it up on the screen. and I just sat down with my sketchbook, and it was like literally just traditional art. It's easier for me to sketch traditionally sometimes, and I sketched out the pose, and I'll put in the sketch. It actually turned out not bad. I was shocked. I was like, I'm not going to touch it anymore. Like, if there's something I need to fix, I'll do it digitally, because like this is the best that I've ever done at an angle. And I never practice any other angles really besides front facing, so I was just shook. So yeah, I decided to draw that little pose of him kind of like pushing out his shoulder. Pose was a big thing. Detail was a big thing. A lot of it's really realistic, and you can see that more in the black and white version, which I also included at the end because I love the black and white version so much. Obviously I don't paint in color, so that's the next something I need to work on. So I kind of prefer the black and white version because it retains the realism and it doesn't look as kind of not realistic, and I really like the realistic look. I love his jacket. I love the detail in the rosary, like, oh my god. I love drawing metal. It's one of my favorite things to do whenever I'm doing still lifes. Metal is absolutely so fun to draw, so it was so fun to draw the rosary. His eye was so fun to draw as well. I just loved putting all the little highlights, and his eyebrow. I really struggle with eyebrows, and I struggled with the eyebrow for quite a bit. I just decided to take it slow and use like one stroke at a time, and I think it worked out really well. Something else that I did differently for this painting was use the airbrush to paint. I never use the airbrush to paint. I painted Krita, and I always use the brush Bristles_Harry, because I feel like that gives a better look to my paintings, just in my style. But I decided to use the airbrush after seeing, I can't remember the artist's name, but they did some art for Kiki's Delivery Service, which I saw on YouTube. I'll link the video, I'll pop it up on screen as well. And I love the way they use the airbrush in their painting. It just made it look super realistic and soft. And not that realism is better than non-realism, I just wanted that particular look, right? So it's the airbrush for basically the entire painting. I don't remember really one time that I consistently used Bristles_Harry, which is an oil brush. I'm really happy with it. I wanted to create like a poster look, and I think I kind of succeeded in that. And I'm stoked that it just turned out really well. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this particular painting, because I know it's completely different from what I usually do because it's a different angle and like it's colorful and like there's lighting. I know the black and white one and the color one are slightly different because I modified the color one as I was going, and obviously I had to go back and because I merged the layers in the background, a whole bunch of complicated stuff, like, so they're a little bit different, but I kind of like that, so I'm gonna print out both of them. I hope you guys like them. Let me know which ones you guys like better, the color or the black and white, and let me know your thoughts on the painting and also the replan of this mirror book, which was what it was called before we gave it the title based on Edgar Allan Poe's poem, I think. I don't know. Based on a poem, I don't know. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
St. Christopher to find your sister. She ran out.